Everybody, it's evening time, or I guess it's about 5 o'clock. It's relatively quiet here. The weekend is over. A few last-minute fishermen came out today to try to fish. The water's low, so there's not as much area to fish in, but there never have been a lot of fish here. So what I wanted to talk about today is I've warned you to be ready. I've told you to prep. It's about to get real, people. We know that the United States is not mentioned in the end times. I'm going to go over the names that are mentioned in the Ezekiel 38 description. And there's no United States. You can twist some of these names around and say, well, this might include, but there's no real evidence supporting that. For instance, there was no United States when this was written, but these countries that they're referencing, most of them don't exist under the names that they were listed in anyway. But there's no United States when this was written. It hadn't been discovered yet. Whether you count the Vikings or the Spanish, it doesn't matter. Neither one of them had made it there. Okay, so there's 5 reasons I'm going to give you today why the United States is not involved. I don't know which one. One or more of these reasons could be the reason the United States is not involved. And unfortunately, this Christian country is going to pay a price for their anti-Israel behavior. A big price. Before I give you the list, I'm going to read for you Genesis 12:2. You should be 12:3 really, but 12:2 we're going to start. You should already know this verse. You probably heard it, but I'm going to go over it again. 12:2, he's talking to Abram. And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and I will make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. He's telling Abram what's going to happen with him and his generations. And in 12:3, I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And in thee shall be all families of the earth blessed. That is why we have the nation of Israel. He put us on this planet to live here peaceably. We couldn't. Sin free, we couldn't. So he's going to make an example for the whole world through the people of Abraham eventually, but Abram, to show the world how you should be. It's too bad they couldn't follow instructions either. Okay, 1. What's the first reason why we probably won't be involved? And like I said, it could be any one of these, or frankly all of them. It could be. The number 1, 30 trillion in debt and rising. The only reason our dollar hasn't totally collapsed is the world is invested in it, and they're going to do everything they can to keep it afloat, because if ours goes to zero, their dollars go to zero. The banks recently just bought, $70 billion worth of gold. Why are they doing that? As a hedge. Something tangible that won't change. We're always going to need gold. So that's not good. That could fit very easily into a day's wage for a loaf of bread. I'm paraphrasing the Bible verses. A day's wage, a denarius for a jar of wheat. That's basically what it translates to. The number 2 reason why the United States may not be involved. We might be bombed out of existence. There's enough nukes out there to take us out. Russia has come out and said lately that major attacks on the east and west coast, major bomb attacks there, could totally cripple the United States, put us back to the dark ages. There's major centers out there, whether it's Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and other areas. If they were bombed with a nuclear bomb, it would basically disable us. Another thing that they could do would be to drop an EMP bomb above the United States and knock out all of our electrical grid. Everything that's plugged into it could be knocked out. If that happens, it will take months, if not years, to restore some basic semblance. Your phones won't work. There won't be any satellite connections. Everything will be down. And you'll be on your own. Hopefully you can be on your own. Okay, Iran and their alliance. We're kind of secretly buddy-buddy with Iran. And we might actually reveal how much we are buddy-buddy. We're trying to get Israel to cease fire. Iran wants a ceasefire. We're in agreement with them. But also Iran's threatening us. Iran's threatening if we don't stop supporting them and they don't get a peace deal soon, Iran's going to attack the United States. And in fact, they really are already, because they're attacking our U.S. bases in Syria and Iraq. Multiple times. I think 20, 25 times already so far since this is escalated. Another thing, and again, this could be multiples. The United States could just finally admit that they're already part of the New World Order. Our president's not running this country. He hasn't in a long time. It's being run by a puppet, one of the billionaire puppets that's out there. And I've mentioned a few names, and you know who they are. Some of this anti-Semitic stuff is probably being funded by the key anti-Semitic individual billionaire out there, Klaus Schwab. He's a Nazi, always has been, and wants the Fourth Reich. Of course, he wants to be in charge. So that's number 4. And they're already in their court. You can tell by the rules and the laws that are being broken, and you can tell by the riots in the streets. Those are paid thugs. Now, is he paying everybody in those riots? I don't think so, but he could. But he's certainly paying the leaders. And I don't know what they're getting paid, but they are getting paid. It happened during the Black Lives Matter. Those riots were paid. We have evidence of that. And, of course, number 5 could be God could step in with some kind of a natural disaster. We have in the United States many active volcanoes. We have an active earthquake area in California. They just had a 5-something underneath the San Francisco airport. Shook everybody up pretty good. They are due for something much bigger. All the fronts that have been releasing haven't been releasing the amount of tension that's building. California is not going to fall off into the ocean. That's not the way the plates are moving. The plates are moving. Here's the Sierra Nevadas, the mountains up high. California is over here, and the subduction front is going underneath, and it's pushing the mountains higher when it does. That's the main direction of the plate, but it's also moving north. So as it's hitting, it's moving north. Eventually, in 1 million years or 5 million years or whatever it is, Los Angeles will be in Seattle. Obviously, we're not going to be here, but that's the direction that the plate's moving, inward and upward. So it's not going to fall off into the ocean. You can't go buy waterfront property in Nevada. Won't happen. And that much of a movement to have it fall in the ocean would wipe out everything over New Mexico, probably. The earth shaking that much, and a tsunami covering an immense amount of area. Okay, so as a recap, we could overspend ourselves to where we haven't got any money, our dollar collapses, and we're done. That's a possibility. We could be bombed by the major countries out there. Russia would be a key. We might get something from North Korea, but they're going to be one-offs. Russia could basically, with their Soviet military that they've still got, that Putin still got, and Putin's been threatening us. Of course, Biden's poking him, and you know that, because they want a war. they could wipe out the north, the east, and the west with very little effort. Okay, we could just go ahead and admit that we have an alignment with Iran and get in and back them. Again, we're not going to be pleasing God. We could join the New World Order, or there could be a natural disaster. Okay, these are the possibilities for the reason we're not mentioned. Now, you say, well, how do you know we're not mentioned? Well, we're going to go over the names. I'm going to read Ezekiel 38, I think 1 through 6, and I'm going to go over the names and see where they are and see that there really isn't anything here. Now, we've got the, this is the Ezekiel War. We've got the Psalm 83 War. But some people disagree on whether that's current or past tense, so I'm going to leave it off for now. The alliances could easily be formed for that as well, but again, the United States is not mentioned in that. The Ezekiel War, which is really covered in Ezekiel and Revelation, that's the current war that we're looking at. God's going to put a hook in Magog and pull them down. They're already, you can see the fishing is already going on, and they're pulling on the bait. Russia's already said that they would come down and protect Syria and Lebanon. They're giving defensive armament to Lebanon right now. They originally gave it to the Syrians, but they're moving it over to Lebanon. They may leave some of it behind for Syria as well. And we know Damascus is going to be demolished at some point. Okay, Ezekiel 38, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog. Okay, so these are old terms that were used back when this was written. This is basically where Russia is now. Gog is the ruler, Magog is the territory. And it's a territory, it's not a little area. Land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against them. Meshach and Tubal are right below where Hungary is. So they're the northernmost area and right below them, still above Israel. I think you could probably get some of Ukraine in that. Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army and horsemen and horses, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. They didn't know anything about tanks and military the way it is now. We're talking about, in the day, a horseback rider would be the biggest weapon you'd have. They'd have a lance of some sort, and they'd ride along and they'd take people out, well out in advance. But they're giving them all kinds of armor. Even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So they're all going to have weapons. Then in 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and his bands, the house of Togarmah of the northern quarters, and all of his bands, and many people with thee. Okay, we just listed a bunch of names, and I give you some of them, but we'll go over it again. Magog is Russia. Pretty much all the way across the top, Russia. Meshach and Tubal is a swath of land about the size of Magog, but right below them, Meshach and Tubal. So basically all the northern areas, northern tribes. Persia, we know, is Iran. Their name was changed to Iran in the early 1900s. Literally the 1930 or something like that. Ethiopia and Libya. They're in Africa. We know where they're at now. Gomer and Togarmah, those are in Turkey. Gomer at the top right corner, and Togarmah below that, kind of in a little bit. But they're on the eastern side of Turkey. Easily combined to funnel that down and then to come in from the other side with Ethiopia and Libya. And Libya's been threatening and doing all kinds of stuff. They're mad that they had their backside kicked a few years ago, and they'd love to get back at Israel. So these are the alliance. Now, if you want to bring in the Psalm War, even in that, you can't find some place that we can claim to be the Americas. One, nobody back then when this was written knew even America existed. They hadn't agreed on whether the world was round or flat, whether it was the center of the universe or not. And it certainly hadn't been discovered. And sometimes when they don't know, they say, and the group to the west. Well, they don't have any of those terms in there. There is nothing saying that the United States is going to be around. People going into town, looks like. I've got my jacket on because it's just a tad bit chilly. It's not cold. I think it's probably 50. And it's been getting down to like 45, so it's not terribly bad. I'm going to eventually get my electric blanket. I think I have one in storage. God, I hate going into that mess looking for stuff. Because every time I do, I don't put it back right, and it gets to be a bigger mess. I don't have any place to put that stuff. That stuff was supposed to have been in there for a month or two. And God has changed my plans enough times that I stopped looking. I'm doing fine. We're dealing with some issues with my son who's still struggling, but he's got a safe place to be for now and food. And that's the main thing that I'm trying to keep stable right now is him. If he was completely stable and on his own, I'd take off and go someplace. Get out of the North Georgia area. I'm a little bit below almost Alabama where I'm at, so I am a little bit south of the Atlanta area, but I'm not in tropical weather by any means, and it will get cold. I just booked, I'm here through November, and I just booked a couple of weeks in December, not too far from here. I'm back to my 2-week camping stays because that's the maximum you can stay in state parks. We really don't have a lot of land. This is the only land that I know of that I can stay on with electricity for a month or two at a time. And it closes because it gets bad here, weather-wise. The plumbing freezes, things like that, so they got to basically winterize them like you would a trailer, pour Prestone in them and things so they can sit the winter out. But I got to be out of here at the end of the month, a couple of days to pack and get out. And I got to drive about, I guess it's probably about 30 minutes away to a state park. And it's one that I've been to before. I'm probably not going to be changing a lot of my locations if you're familiar with this channel, because I got to stay close to a center. I'm still not working because the film industry is not working, other than a couple of independent films I'm working on. But other than that, and those are freebies. You can work as much as you want for free. It's just that you can't get paid unless the unions are working, and they're not. And they're holding out. And why are they holding out? Because they can. They're big, evil corporations, and I hate unions. I absolutely do. That's why I'm not in the union. And if they were to hear me say this and say, well, we're never going to let you in, I go, see, this is my little violin. I would love to be a part of an organization that had fun like I do when I get to work and get paid decently for it. but I won't sign my soul to the devil to do it. And that's what the unions are now, tools of the devil. And if you're part of a union, I'm sorry about that, but we shouldn't have them. No, you have to be part of them sometimes. And truckers who carry the bulk of our goods around this country, which we desperately need, they have a union. So I don't group them and everything, but, Teamsters, that's where Hoffa came from. And we don't know where they buried him. I think the unions were directly involved in the assassinations of our presidents. And getting the media, when they found out their power and they got together with these people, they took out Nixon for doing exactly what the Democrats were doing, spying. He shouldn't have done it, but they're doing it. You got to kind of keep up. But he had people that were out to get him because he ended the war. People making a lot of money on it. Be prepared, people. Stock up your goods. One way or the other, the price of goods are going up. Right now, gas is down. Thank God, because I drive a lot. But lately, I'm parking my car as much as I can. I need to give my car a bath tomorrow because it was parked under a tree where I was staying. It's not going to be pretty, people, and it's going to surprise a lot. A lot of the people I talk to are in denial. And I don't mean the river. But they might as well be because they're not paying attention. Or they're in complete denial so that they don't have to do anything. Oh, it's not time yet. It's not going to happen yet. I'm going to go about my business of trying to pay off my mortgage and my cars and get everything perfectly ready until I can retire in my house and have no bills. Your house is going to burn up when the earth burns up. And you don't frankly want to be here during the tribulation, even if you could stay in your house. You want out of here. But they're in denial. And they're Christians in denial. The churches aren't teaching the end times. They don't even teach hellfire and damnation anymore. They teach, oh, let's all get together and sing Kumbaya and we're going to have a happy family. Yeah, Satan loves that. Passiveness. A falling away of the church. That's really what it is. It's been a long time since we've seen some real action down here, and God's not going to give it to us. He's going to let Satan do it. The Antichrist is going to look like Christ. Not physically, but the world's going to see him, see his miracles, and think he is Christ. The world knows who Jesus Christ is. They just don't believe he is who he claimed to be. The Muslims think he was a prophet. So they believe in him and they're looking for him. And they're going to find him in the Antichrist. The Jews are looking for him. They don't believe he came here the first time because they would have to admit they were wrong. And they don't want to do that. They're prideful. They will eventually. When the Antichrist turns and the 144,000 convince him. But that's in the future and we won't be here. Be ready. They say keep the lamps filled. I say keep your power packs charged and your batteries charged because you're going to need them when the power goes out. Have a backup plan. Have a plan to meet if everything crashes. Where's the family going to get together? Come up with a plan. How are you going to get there? If you have an electric car and they hit us with an EMP bomb, it's dead. Never to be resurrected again. If there's no gas and you're on empty, I would keep your vehicle minimum a half a tank of gas at all times. Because you don't know where you're going to have to drive to. If you can, keep it full. Let it go down a quarter, fill it back up. Don't let it go more than 3/4. Keep the vehicle full. You may need the gas for heat. You can siphon gas out of a vehicle if you have a hose. They used to do that during gas wars. See, they came with a locking gas cap for a while. And mine locks. When I lock the door, a little lever locks the door so it can't be opened. You can pry it open if you're desperate. The world is getting ready to switch to the final phase. And when it does, we're getting out of here. But is it going to be immediate? I don't know. There's a war going on in Israel. The Hamas need to be eliminated because they're working for Satan. Probably many of them demon-possessed. I think in that raid there were probably many that were. They also give them drugs so that they were out of their mind, some of them. This is not a friendly group, people. They would kill you in an instant if they had an opportunity. Be ready. Prep. Because we don't know when. It's got nothing to do with not knowing the day or the hour. That's the second coming. The rapture, it's even worse than that. They don't even give us enough information to calculate it. We can't come up with when the rapture is going to be. We just know that it's near. We know it's near the end. I didn't bring anything to drink. We know it's near the end before the Antichrist shows. As the Antichrist. He's here and alive now, but he's not the Antichrist until he's killed. Could it be Musk? Could it be one of the other billionaires? It's one of the 7 kings. Soon to be the 8th. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.